Good morning, you guys. This is my third attempt at this video. There's Uranus that went retrograde to get today. Today. I can't even get my words out. Uranus and Taurus. Anyway, and so I'm definitely feeling the effects of that right as we speak. So bear with me during this video. My name is Jordan Smith, and I am the voice and the astrologer behind the webpage nonconformistconscience.com and the Facebook page, and there's an Instagram account too. But I forget to introduce myself so often, but wanted to do that today and make sure that I did it. I am based out of Oklahoma City to be exact. So if this is your first time watching one of my videos, welcome. I really appreciate it. And let's dive in. So on my webpage, I go into more detail about the conversations that are happening between planets before and after the new moon. So if you want to know more about everything going on this week, go over to the website or the Facebook page and you can read the written. But in this video, I'm going to really stick to the sun in Virgo, since it's Virgo season. Happy birthday to all the Virgos out there. And then I'm going to stick to the new moon happening on the 27th and the conversations playing out that day. So Virgo sun, Virgo going in, the sun going into Virgo, I want to really talk about the archetype about Virgo. A lot of you guys during this cycle will feel some of the things that I'm talking about, or these archetypal dynamics will come up. The ones of you that have a lot of Virgo planetary placements or sixth house stuff in your chart, you're definitely probably going to resonate with what I'm about to talk about. And I feel like it's really important to talk about this archetype since we are now in Virgo season, and since our new moon happening on the 27th is in the sign of Virgo, and it really kicks off this new cycle for us. As always, this astrology report will build on the weeks prior to it. That is how astrology is. It's also worth mentioning that astrology is not causative. It's only going to reflect the archetypal dynamics that are playing out in your life already. So it will speak to that. So with Virgo, which is definitely one of my favorite signs just because of the purity and the intention behind this sign and its archetypal nature. And what I mean by that is anytime someone has an abundance of Virgo or sixth house stuff, this is someone who's going through a purification process. And it can be hard. It can be really hard because this is a transitional archetype. It is the sixth house. So the first, or Aries, through Leo the fifth, is all about the subjective. And so there can be a lot of egocentrism, rightfully so, because you're needing to learn and to discover and to accumulate information. You're needing to learn about yourself, how you identify yourself. You're needing to learn what is creative and special, what your gifts are, what you're here doing, the things that really lift you up. But what can happen, and we've all seen it, is people can get really stuck in this realm of that these things are existing and only coming from themselves. They're not really connecting with something bigger. And that's what I mean by subjective. It's all subjective. So the sixth house is the transitional archetype that leads into the 7th through the 12th, which is objective. And in order to do objective things, there has to be a deep analyzing in a cycle of analyzing and purifying and discernment. And that is the sixth house of Virgo. And so there's a lot of lessons in crisis and in guilt, what's natural, what's conditioned. There can be a lot of family, societal, cultural, and religious conditioning that a soul is really working through if they have a lot of the Virgo in their chart, because they're essentially learning to work through what is natural guilt that I'm carrying and what is conditioned. And in Virgo, there's this purification process that happens with that. And with the sun in Virgo in someone's chart, and this will speak to the dynamics that some of us may be experiencing right now, there is, with the sun, that is like kind of like the center of everything, the center of gravity. It's what we're striving towards. Whereas your moon is going to be more about who you are as a person, and same with your south node, and then your Pluto is your soul. So it's definitely going to have an impact on the egoic structure, because that is something that our souls pick. It's our egoic structure. But the sun is the thing that keeps us going, no matter what. And within a Virgo sun, the archetype is of striving to be of service, and it is of service to the whole, to, sorry, something popped up on my screen. Oh my gosh. Okay, there we go. So it's, learning how to be of service to the society or where they are at, and doing it in a way that is relative to the society. So whatever the work function is, it's something that's being of service to the community as a way to help. And so there can be these deep lessons in service of correct and right work, because Virgo is the archetype of karma yoga. And so when we pick like our purpose in our work, we then get to experience essential humility, which is another archetype of Virgo. And that means that sometimes that there can be this sacrifice. And I'm going to go into that in a second with a personal story, just to kind of relay and connect everything. And I definitely feel like it is something that might be things that others have experienced or gone through, especially if you have a lot of Virgo. But with the sun in Virgo, there's a purifying process. So in Virgo, if you've ever met a Virgo or someone who has a lot of sixth house or Virgo in their chart, they might be someone who experiences a lot of crisis. And it is a way to purify the things that are not relative to the soul anymore, to the structure of who that person is on a soul level. It's the things that need to be, evicted out, as a way for evolution to proceed. And with Virgo, there can be this really perfectionistic quality. It's the apprentice archetype. So there can be this like, I'm doing all of these things, I'm learning, I'm growing, but there's this thing that I really need to do, but I don't feel ready yet. And so there can be this perfectionism of not feeling good enough that really can become paralytic for some and keep them stuck in the same place. And there can also be this feeling of wanting to control the surroundings, especially if this is someone who has experienced a lot of trauma, because it's a survival mechanism. And the control comes from wanting to know how to control the environment, when there's a lot more deeper to that, So the polarity of Virgo is Pisces, and so it's learning how to simplify and to let go and to believe in something bigger than yourself that can help guide you, and to have a guiding philosophy in life as a way to strive to be. And so you see that within Virgo. There's also masochism is a really big thing in someone who has a lot of Virgo. And so, what I mean by that is there are some people, and these are dynamics that some of us may be experiencing coming up within the next 2 weeks. Okay. So, there can be this pathology of being masochistic, of feeling like until I suffer enough, I don't deserve to get what I have, or I deserve to suffer. So there's this need to atone, and that can create a pathology of really being a doormat for others, of taking accountability for yourself in a way, but yet this person never sees their stuff, and then just trying to control how they learn and grow, or staying around and being naive, thinking that they will. This can be even in your job, thinking that, I'm really being myself here, or I'm doing this work, but especially for women, I do more work than this man, but I get paid less than him. These are all things wrapped up in this kind of masochism thing. And then there's the other side of it, which is more of the sadism side. And that can be, I feel guilty for something and I'm angry. So, to give examples of this, the masochism could be a woman who's staying in a relationship and is actually having like battered women syndrome, for a lot of reasons. Okay. Like, I've experienced it, so I'm not, no judgment here at all. But there is this pathology there that, like, as long as I prove, I show that I can show up in this way or I can be this person, then this person's going to change. And there comes the kind of control dynamic that comes into it as well. On the flip side, the sadistic side can be, there's a lot of people, you usually see it more in the pathology of males with this, but it can be seen in women for sure. But a great example of this would be a girl who meets a guy, they connect really well, and um, he's told her that he's really into her, he really likes her, all of these things. And then she decides to hook up with him. And then all of a sudden, he either ghosts her or he decides to tell her, you're really annoying, I don't really like you, blah, blah, blah. And that is more of the sadism side. And both of these kind of pathologies, which this is not over encompassing of everything, I'm just kind of touching on some things. Both of these pathologies really stem from conditioned guilt. That can be from the family system or from religious upbringing, especially, or if you have a series of prior lives where you've had a lot of religious conditioning. And so the need to atone can be this like faint memory from when you were a child, or it can be in your face, or it can be from previous lifetimes of really sticking to a code of moral ethics that's of a religious or familial nature that's not in alignment with natural law. And then when you choose to like do something different, there can be this feeling of, I feel guilty and I must suffer because I made these choices of not sticking to the strict code of moral ethics. You can see that with a lot of people who have a lot of repression with sexuality, and they can develop a variety of different things like sexual addiction or all types of distortion. Some people can feel like they're asexual, it's a way to repress, and it's because of this essential guilt that really isn't natural. And so in the sign of Virgo, it's wanting us to get rid of that. And so what can happen is a series of events that are they induce this deep learning and purification process of getting to the bottom of this. And it takes a deep analyzing of inside and penetrating to the core of what those dynamics are. So once you learn it, you never have to learn it again. That is the beauty of Virgo. If you learn it, if you truly learn it, and you consciously work with what's happening and occurring, you don't ever have to go through that again. You don't ever have to learn that again. And all of us have experienced that and on some level. So within the Virgo archetype is also sacrifice and essential humility. And on the one hand, and this kind of relates to this Gemini quality, because Virgo is part of the mutable axis, so it kind of pulls in Pisces, Gemini, and Sag to it. And we have Mars and Gemini, so it's worth mentioning. Sacrifice can be looked at, especially if you have a masochistic kind of structure of that you're working through. It can be I'm sacrificing my who I am in order to have this relationship, this job, these friendships, this, that, or the other. And the essential humility that is a more natural expression and what natural sacrifice is can be on the flip side. I want to be who I am. I'm humbled in who I am. I deserve to show up for who I am. I should not sacrifice who I am on a soul level. And in order to not do that, I might have to sacrifice the job and that pays really well and might have to go find a different job just so I can feel like I can breathe and be me. Or you might have to sacrifice old friendships or, sometimes family. And so with that, I want to talk and I want to relay a story because I feel like it really talks about all of these dynamics and it's a personal one and it's knowledge that I have that I feel like really pertains to this from my own personal experiences. And so hopefully it's beneficial for some of you guys. So within Virgo being in the mutable axis, there can be, or the mutable cross, there can be, for some of us, a hiding signature. And that can relate to feeling like I can't be seen, I can't be authentic, and so I'm going to convince myself that I'm just like everyone else. Or it can be along the lines of that. And so I was definitely someone who did that. And so I sacrificed myself, who I was. I knew that I was different, like not in a I'm so different. Like I had just found myself looking around and it really popped off during my Saturn return. I found myself looking around and seeing that I was really alone, even though I was surrounded by a lot of different types of people. I felt like I could not be who I was in my family. Every time that I was who I was and I was authentic, I got in trouble. Like it was, I ruffled feathers, I all of these things. Um and then I found in my friendships that I had nothing in common with these people. People I had been friends with for like 14, 18 years. I looked around and I also am someone who was in this like really abusive relationship at one point, and that was actually when Pluto went into Cap. And it really jumped this whole process for me of discovering the like masochism I held within myself and learning what essential humility is and how to be of service to others. Um, so what I would do was I was someone who felt really victimized by life. I went through crisis after crisis after crisis. Growing up, crazy relationships with siblings, parents, friends. Then in my 20s, I found myself in a relationship that was just the ultimate like sadistic, masochistic thing you could find yourself in. And I had to liberate myself from that. And that's what really started getting me to like look around, like doing the deep Virgo work of why do I find myself in this situation? What were the choices that I was making prior to this, leading up to this, that I found myself in that type of situation? And it was do or die. Seriously, it was my life was on the line. And so that's what it took. And oftentimes with like this Virgo stuff, there can be things with health, there can be a lot. And my Pluto's in Scorpio in the 6th house, so it was dealing with death. And it really forced me to go into this eternal process and ask these questions and to hold myself responsible. And then my Saturn return hit, and I was looking at these friends that I have. I love them, but I don't have it. Anytime I try to talk about like these deep things or whatever, it's like the only way I could connect with them was to go out and party and drink, right? So I was sacrificing myself yet again. I was sacrificing my authenticity. I was sacrificing of my inner knowing of who I was, right? And then I had to look at my family system. And I had an experience with a parent where there was this disillusionment, because that can occur with this Virgo stuff. I really thought that this parent was a different person than what they were. And I found my world crashing down on me. And I found I was once feeling really victimized, but now I kind of swung to the other way. And I was drinking and I was lashing out on people and I was hurting people. And that experience forced me to have to look at myself. What is going on here? And it was, I'm not listening to myself. I'm not honoring what is going on inside of me. And I had this big conversation with this parent, and I realized this person's never going to accept me. They're never gonna do what I want them to do, which is see me or this, that, and the other. And so I had to walk away. I had to own that if I was going to continue these types of relationships with people, that I was resisting my evolution, and I was also getting in the way of theirs by fulfilling that role that was keeping us all stuck. And so there's this responsibility and accountability that I had to take. And it really helps start me on like the spiritual journey of understanding all of these things. And so when I did this liberation occurred, and it happened because I had nothing to lose. I was so tired of what continued to occur. I was tired, and I had already sacrificed who I was as a person. I was not being me. I was, being who everyone else wanted me to be, and trying to convince myself that that's how I should be, and feeling guilty for copying out on myself. That is a huge Virgo thing, feeling dishonorable of myself. And so the sacrifice that was the distorted version was me sacrificing myself to appease everyone else. And when I learned that I was getting in the way of my evolution and of theirs, forgiveness came and compassion came for myself and for them. And the ultimate sacrifice was, I need to walk away from this family system. I need to walk away from these friends. And I am going to have to face myself. And that might be I am alone for a while, or, whatever. And the sacrifice is, I truly love these people and I would love to have a relationship with them. And that's the sacrifice, is I'm no longer willing to control that or to hide who I am in order to continue those relationships, because they prefer further growth and evolution. And so there are these deep lessons. I share this because there are these deep lessons within the Virgo archetype. And so a lot of us right now are coming into contact with this as a way to get to the bottom of it and to finally end cycles of whatever it may be. And these are going to be these habitual patterns and cycles that you're experiencing, that you're just like, why is this happening again? Like, what is going on here? And so there's this deep inner work. This is yin energy, Virgo. We need to go within, and there needs to be solitary time to be able to ground oneself, to do breath work, to do these kind of Virgoian things. Maybe you need to do hatha yoga or therapeutic yoga as a way to learn how to quiet the mind. That way it's not overactive and over anxious by the events that are occurring. So that way you can really take a deep analyzing of what's going on. So that way you can find objectivity within that, and then be able to discern what route that needs to be taken in order to no longer continue these cycles. And this can be, deep, deep work for some of us. And I wanted to share this with you because I feel like it's like a powerful moment. Um, so these are kind of the dynamics of Virgo. So we have the new moon happening on the 27th here in Oklahoma. It's at like 3:16 in the morning. I posted the chart on my website if you want to peek at it. But the new moon is when the sun conjuncts the moon, and they're in this sign of Virgo. And so it's really like bringing forth all of these emotional dynamics that need to have a purification process. And so for some, there can be this feeling of, I have no other choice but to go on. There's also some who will want to resist this, and it will inevitably create crisis. And not everyone is going to experience this, but look at where this new moon is happening in your own chart. Like, what house do you have Virgo in? Do you have planets there? What conversations are they having with each other? And you can see how this can play out. Prior to this new moon, the sun in Virgo is ruled by Mercury, and Mercury is still in Virgo. And so this helps, like with this, it's connecting the exterior with the interior world and analyzing it to come to deep understanding and knowledge and gnosis. And so it's really helping us with this. On the new moon, though, the new moon is ruled by Mercury, but Mercury is going to be in Libra. And so we can see that there are going to be events that can happen or things that come up that, are about our relationships and having balance within our relationships for ourselves and for others, of being able to meet your own needs, of being able to listen to others and being able to meet their needs, or deciding that you can't and being honest about it. There's it's relational dynamics of all sorts. There are things, relational dynamics, that are going to come up as a way to purify them, that could deal with codependency or an enmeshment for some. And really getting to the bottom of why. Why do these cycles keep happening? There can be lessons and discerning when to give and when not to give. And there can be themes revolving around that. There's also a Mars and Gemini squaring this new moon. And Mars is like the little brother of Pluto. If Pluto's our soul, Mars is the little brother who enacts all of the soul's desires as a way to work through and evolve. And when we look at transiting Mars, though, transiting Mars is like wherever it falls in your chart, those are the desires that your soul is working through at that moment. And so when we look at this square from Mars and Gemini to this new moon in Virgo, ruled by this Mercury in Libra, we can see that this is really about how we have, contextualized things, defined things, classified things, what the information and the knowledge that we've taken in before is now needing to have this Virgoian experience of analyzing and, transmuting it and coming to a deep understanding of gnosis. So that way, maybe later on, we can be of service to others and help them through something that we've actually been through. And there's not just like an opinion, there's actual knowledge that you can impart, but it means that there needs to be a detachment from the outcome of that, if that's the case. But there are really big lessons right now as to how we've defined relationships, how we've defined our needs within relationships. Are these conditioned? Is this what I've been taught, or what are actually my needs? There is a a rewiring of our brains that can go on right now as a way to now be be able to identify with things and how we classify them in a more authentic way. That way we can be able to ask for them later on, or we know when to say no, or to have boundaries, or this or that. That is the themes, the name and the nature of this new moon. And so there can be contention that happens. There can be arguments for some, as a way to force the energy in for them to be like, what is going on here? What do I need to look at? You know, there can be all of this going on. And that Mars is ruled by Mercury as well. So there's just this, you know, kind of triple signature of a culmination of certain things that need to be exacerbated so that way you no longer have to do them anymore. You know, it's like the soul is saying, I am tired of this. I'm tired of doing these things. I'm tired of feeling the way that I'm feeling. I have nothing else left to lose. I need to get to the bottom of this. That way I can do something different for once and for all. That's this kind of energy. And like I said, for some, it can be revolving around service, for others. And so it can be really how I've defined my life and who I've been showing up in this type of field really doesn't serve me. I don't feel like this resonates with who I am. I don't feel like I can be authentic. So I need to take a look at how I've been defining, you know, what purpose and work and service is. And the key is to do it in a way that is relevant not only for yourself, but for society. And you can see there's like this fixed grand cross that's going on with this as well on this day that the new moon is occurring. And this is a cross with the North Node and Uranus in Taurus squaring Venus in Leo. That's then squaring the South Node in Scorpio, and that's then squaring Saturn in Aquarius. So this is a way to really have liberation from these crystallized structures that we have been living in and these cycles that we've been living in for a long time. And this Leo energy that's in there, so there's this thing that happens with Virgo, and it can be really amped up with this fixed cross going on, is I know what I need to do, but I'm too afraid to do it, or I can't do it, even though you know that you can. And there can be this fear and this confusion and just everything's scary and I don't feel like I can do it. And the key is that with Virgo, it's mutable. You've got to just keep going. No matter what, I say it all the time. You can't get rid of fear, but you can ride it. You can make friends with it. And you've got to do that. And you'll see that things open up for you. Because what do you have to lose? You know what's going to happen if you continue what you've been doing. You've been doing it for a long time. This is that Virgo energy. So at some point, we get tired and we have to purify that. And we have to get rid of the guilt that comes with it and the feeling of needing to, you deserve this, or I should suffer, all of these themes. And this is a deep purification process. And I just wanted to mention all of this because if you see these types of cycles happening in your life, or something's repeating and you're just tired, this lends energetics that really help you get to the bottom of these core dynamics that you've been replaying and reliving out. Uranus went retrograde today. That makes it 5 planets retrograde. We have Mercury going retrograde on the 9th of September, and then in October, we have Mars. Retrogrades are a liberating quality. This is here. All of these are, it's also a redo, relive, repeat. So this is a time, this cycle that we are all in, is to get to the bottom of these types of things in order to no longer have to go through those lessons again. There is a liberating quality. And I can just speak from experience. Like the story I told you, do I miss my old friends? Absolutely. Do I feel bad for some of the ways that I behaved back then? Absolutely. Have I made amends? Absolutely. Have I owned my stuff? Absolutely. Do I wish that I could have a relationship with my siblings and my parents? Oh my God, yes, more than anything. So am I sad sometimes? Absolutely. There can be grief that comes up for some of us as a way to really work and finalize through this process if you have been working through it, right? The key is to not cop out on yourself. Don't be dishonorable to yourself. Own who you are and walk through it. The liberation that occurred for me is I put myself out there. I'm an astrologer now. I feel like I get to help people. I feel so much more connected with God because I'm no longer like viewing people as pseudo gods or that they're the people that give me ultimate meaning to life. That's also another theme that could be happening for some, is really making someone or an organization or a community giving it ultimate meaning. And so there are lessons in discernment of disillusionment that can happen for some. I've experienced it. Once the dust settles and you walk through it, though, it is extremely liberating. I know that the things that I've gone through, I don't ever have to go through them again. I'm not going to go through them again. And there's not work that's, that there's work that still needs to be done. It's not like I've quit, but I just want to say, from someone who has had to deal with these kinds of things, that there were times where I did cop out on myself, and then the crisis just got bigger the next time. And you would have thought that the crisis, whenever I was in that relationship in my early 20s, like, it was a bad one. It was not just, it was bad. And maybe one day I'll share about it to help others, but it was just really bad. And you would have thought that that would have really, like, gotten me to get all of that out, to not learn any of that again. But I didn't realize that there were deep karmic wounds within my family system of these type of themes, and I had cognitive dissonance about it. My belief of certain parents or of who people were was, I was holding on to it. I just wished that they would be someone else. Like, I thought that they were, I was only seeing the best, and it was just cycles of abuse within my family. And the liberation, that's why I think like the stuff with my family was even more. It was my family, like a boyfriend, a partner. Yeah, it sucks. There's a lot there. And walking away, it was terrifying for me. I was in more danger whenever I walked away. But with my family, it was a deeper wound because I had to go look back in my life and realize all the times I had been disillusioned by them. I had to get really honest, and I had to look at my part in not wanting to see that, or not wanting to listen to myself whenever I did see that. And the liberation that has occurred is like, I can't even explain it. There's not enough words. There's no way to just describe what that feels like, that I am free to exist and to be me, and that it's okay. It's good enough. And so if anything comes up for you guys this week and the next following weeks and months, just know that, like, walking through it is really hard. That's why there's a lot of people who are not willing to do their shit. Think about it. They don't want to do it because it is hard. You want to be the person who says, I can do this, and I'm not going to be dishonorable to myself, and I'm not going to cop out. I'm going to walk through this. I am going to liberate myself from these experiences that no longer serve me. I'm going to liberate myself from cycles of habitual emotional patterns and relationships that are not in alignment with who I am and are not in authenticity, and that are preventing me from further growth and evolution. You can do this. Like, I like, and that's me being of service, is sharing this and saying, you can do this. I know you can do this. I did it. You can do it. So if these things are coming up for you, you can do this. And I love all of you guys. Definitely, we're going to be working through these repeat themes, okay, with all of these retrogrades. You can also see, like, just take a look around in the collective, what's going on. Like, here in Oklahoma, there's stuff going on in Norman with the book bans, and like the teacher getting, there was a teacher who was fired because she gave the kids a QR code to the New York library so they could read whatever books they were given. Like, not very much long to get titles of books off of their shelves that didn't follow these strict guidelines of moral ethics. Um, Really things that were exclusive in nature and derogatory, like they wanted like their beliefs and books to be the only ones. And so teachers, they didn't know how to go through those. They weren't given enough information of what's appropriate and what's not. And so kids had to show up to school last week with no books on their shelf, absolutely no books. And then this teacher got fired for doing that. And you can see there's this like uproar within the society there that is just so upset. People are making like posters to stick in their yard of these QR codes so kids can go read these books. If they're like standing in solidarity with this teacher and saying like, you guys are wrong and your hidden agenda is not in alignment with our beliefs. And so you can see that there is a purification process going on in society right now that's looking at the habitual patterns that play out within our systems of government and in different communities and a variety of other ways. So it'll be really interesting to see, because I feel like with all of the Aquarian Uranian energy that's going on right now, like this is, you know, a preview of before Pluto goes into Aquarius in a couple years, in a year, sorry. And it is more in alignment with community and with environmentalism and the collective, with humanity, the collective conscious, what as a society as a whole here on earth is really wanting to do. We are in a revolutionary period of time that is wanting and asking for us to all step up and be the change that we want to see within climate change, within our systems of society, within our actual society. Some of us are here to teach about natural law. Some of us are here to help guide others and to help bring them out of really dark stuff and to help them reclaim themselves. Some of us here are to really help animals. Some of us are here to help the climate, to look at different systems or ways to do it that are not depleting our natural resources and where we're actually coexisting with everything around us, instead of looking at it as less than, because it's not. All life is sentient. Birds are no different than us. They have feelings. You don't think that they're not afraid to die? They are. Like, it's, you know, all of these kind of things that we're seeing in the collective that are going to be coming up as a way. And there is like, I mean, they just passed that bill of, I think it was Mention, I forget how to say his name, Mention. He finally said, okay, I'm going to go along with this environmental bill. Like, and he was fighting it and he finally said, okay. And I think that he just knows that the public is being outspoken about these things. So we need to continue to talk and to share whatever knowledge it is that we're gaining from our own personal experiences, and to really follow what our inner voice is telling us to do in these types of ways. If you're drawn to doing public gardens and helping, you know, people regain the ecosystem there, like I'm going to be planting like all of, we just had our house painted and there's nothing in the garden in the front, and I'm going to be planting all indigenous plants to Oklahoma as a way to just do my part. I don't care about all the pretty stuff, like it's not good for our soil, so I'm going to do my part. That's why I let thistles and like pokeweed grow in my yard. I'm sure I drive my neighbors crazy, and I don't care because it's meant to be here. It has a right to exist here. This is its home. And there's a reason why different places all over the world have different types of plants, is they help the ecosystem. They serve a purpose. And just because Betty Joe down the street doesn't like her tree and it's getting, she has to rake leaves to tear it down, to cut it down, that's life. And it's because what? She doesn't like the way it looks. It's absurd to me. I sound judgmental and these are my deep Capricorn things coming out, but I just feel like we are here to coexist. And so a lot of us are doing a lot of work to do that, to learn how to coexist within society, within the environment, within all sentient life. We all have a place and we can all share it. It's just we all need to get on board and really align what our authentic values are that are more rooted in inclusivity and coexisting. So with all of this energy coming up, there are a lot of things that are going to be purifying from society. as a way to have deep inner reflection, so that way there are lessons learned that government and communities and all sorts of people don't ever have to learn again. They're going to learn, about natural guilt and conditioned guilt. And some of us, unfortunately, are going to be learning through crisis after crisis until this occurs. But I'm here for it. If you want to book a reading with me, you can go to my website. I am actually going to be doing new moon and full moon get-togethers with a friend soon. We've been talking about it, and uh, it's going to be, especially like in times like right now, like I want to do this so we can talk about them, like whatever sign the moon is in at that time, and so people can learn about astrology, and so that healing can take place as well, and that way people can meet each other, and that they resonate with them more on an authentic level, especially if you found yourself like me a few years ago, surrounded by people I had nothing in common with. So I'm going to be posting about that on the Facebook page. And here's the thing, right now I want to tell everyone, with what is going on in society, that meetup is going to be one of a donation or pay what you can. If you got something out of it, do it. People are in hard times, and I don't ever want to turn someone away who can't pay. Also, if you need your chart read and you feel like you're going through something, but you're in financial hardship, reach out to me on my website. I will work with you, or I do free readings. Like when someone really needs it, like I'm not gonna turn them away. Also, it can be a pay what you can thing. Like if you can't pay 125, but you can pay 20, sure, hit me up. Like I don't mind at all. Like I am here to be of service. Like I have so much Virgo, and I don't want to turn people away. I have to sometimes, just because I don't have the time, and I have to take time for myself and my family. But I will do what I can to help people, especially if they're going through something. And so I wanted to mention that, like, and just, yeah, reach out to me, either on the Facebook page of Nonconformist Conscience, or you can reach out to me on, yeah, I would do it on the Facebook page, or you can send me a message on my website. You can actually book on there if you want to, and you can book on there. It will send me an email, and it tells you how to pay, and I'm going to take uh the payment off of that. That way you can pay what you can. Um, so yeah. And you can just send the payment to either my Venmo or my uh Cash App. And if you can't pay, that's okay. Um, Book on there, and then you'll put your information, and you can put a message on there about whatever, and then I will reach out to you and we'll do what we can. Like I struggle even right now. Like it's crazy. Money right now, like the things, like inflation is crazy. And so I want to offer that to whoever needs it. Anyway, I love you guys so much. I hope you got a lot out of this video. You can share it. I'd appreciate it if it resonates. And I will see you guys next week. So, see you then.